Hey, and welcome back to the Bonsai Escape. Mike G here. Today I'm going to talk to you about picking out nursery stock and how to find the perfect tree for a bonsai project. Stay tuned. All right, so now that I've moved from Southern California to Michigan, one of my favorites is the maple. Maples don't grow well in Southern California. In fact, I had a few, and by beginning of June, the leaves would be already burnt and crisp. And that's because it's too hot. We get a lot of dry wind, hot wind there. No matter how much I kept in the shade or how watered I had it. In Michigan, though, they thrive and they're everywhere. In fact, I have a red leaf maple that's about 7 air layers on. It's a beautiful tree, and I'm waiting for those air layers to come through this year, probably toward the end of the summer. But this beautiful maple, red maple, it'll turn autumn red in the fall. I found at a nursery. It was one of those big box stores that has a little side nursery. Those are probably, I would like to say, those are some of the best places because they tend to be really inexpensive compared to the larger nurseries that really specialize in trees. This tree that I found, it's only about a 1-inch base trunk, but this probably would have been $50, $60, $70. I paid 29 bucks for it, and I figured great. It also had 3 branchings or stems from it that I'm actually just put an air layer on the other day. You can see the 2 balls here. I might as well get 2 more trees out of this. So those we'll be working on this summer, air layering. And I left one side branch as the new leader that'll actually be cut off eventually once it thickens. But I'm going to show you a little more detail about what I look for in finding a nursery stock tree. So number one, I just want to look at the health of the tree. All the leaves are gorgeous green. There's no tips that are browning. Most of these trees are pretty neglected in the nurseries, especially this big box store nurseries. So this one looked pretty healthy. It definitely needed some watering. There's some branches that broke off in transporting it, but no big deal because these will grow back. The biggest thing I looked for was the trunk. And in Michigan, California, they were all had pretty significant, what do you call it? Grafts. This may have been grafted, I can't tell, and if it was a pretty good graft because you can't really see it. In California, the trees we got there had really significant grafts. The first thing I did was dig down and looked at whatever root base it had, whatever trunk flare it had, and it was pretty wide below the surface once I got to the first set of roots, and it had some nice Nabari roots. And I actually looked at this and said, man, that could actually be the front if I'm just looking at the Nabari, because I haven't really done any development on the top of it yet. So that was the biggest thing I looked for, was that trunk flare. And then the next nodule up where some branching happened, and if there was any other branching going on, and obviously we have one growing out of the base here, we have another one coming up here, which eventually once we trunk chop this, we'll get more and more back budding along the base of this trunk, which we want. And then it came up, and there's got a little bit of movement in this trunk. You can see here had been cut, and then a new leader came out. So we've got some natural movement already. And then coming up to the middle, this is one of the only ones that had 3 branches. And so it's perfect for air layering. So I air layered this one particular thicker branch, the main leader of it, because that's going to be definitely cut off. Might as well try to get this tree to grow, and I may actually just plant one of these in the yard because it's such a gorgeous tree. Then I had the second one coming off the side, and I was debating whether I keep this one as the leader that comes up or not. But that's what I did was I air layered it higher in the canopy, underneath the canopy. So I'll cut that off. This still could be the main leader, or the one that I didn't do an air layer on, which is this guy. This could be the main leader, depending on what happens. I'll figure it out. If this is the front, it would probably be nice to have the next leader coming out this way. Probably cut it around here, and we'll get some more movement. So it'll actually show some nice movement. But this one could be the main leader too. We'll see. Once I do cut this air layer off this fall, this whole down section will back bud. In fact, it's already starting to back bud in all those spots. So that's what I look for in picking out a nursery stock, and why this one was compelling. First of all, it was a price, $29. I couldn't beat it. It was very healthy, and it actually had some nice movement and characteristics in the trunk that I wanted to see, and it didn't have a significant scar from any grafting, if that's what they did. But in Michigan, these things are everywhere, so I have to believe that they're true maples. Well, there are maples in California, but they're not grafted. But this has a really nice trunk line, and then it's starting to have a nice flare of the Nabari. What I'll do is I'll work on the air layers this year, and then in the spring I will repot this and get it into a better soil and work on the roots, and then I'll just let the canopy grow out in the spring. So that'll be the plan. I will update you on the air layers later this year.